Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Good evening. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host. Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And this is what I call Wellness Wednesday. Wellness Wednesday. And this is an opportunity for you and me and my guests. And I have two special guests tonight to talk about whatever it is we're going to talk about. But our focus is on mental health and wellness, particularly in the African American, Black and brown communities. So we have been having these talks for about a month and a half, 2 months now, actually. And we've had an array of clinicians on, counselors and therapists that have talked about a wide range of topics. But before I introduce my special guest, as I do in my own fashion, I like to hear from you. This is an interactive live. Interactive meaning we want to receive your questions, your comments, and engage with you. So if you will, tell me in the comments what city and state you are viewing us from. In the comments, put in your city and state, and we will definitely give you a shout out. As you are doing that, it has really been a busy day for me. I actually literally just came in from a Working Class Wednesday event. It's a networking event for minority and small businesses here in Tallahassee. And so, it was a great event. First event for the new year, and well-attended number of newbies that were there. So encourage you to check out Working Class Wednesday if you're here in Tallahassee and have a business, and particularly a small business you want to promote. All right, I see Lanisha Thornton. She's right here in Tally, and that is Miss Running Buzz. She normally is at Working Class, so missed you tonight, but glad to see you here on the live. And then Miss Making Matters live conversations with Rashonda. I've been seeing Rashonda in the community lately. She's here in Tallahassee. So thank you for being on here. I really do appreciate that. All right. So we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Roku TV via the Greater Words Network, which is my network. And so tell your folks they need to be on here. We are talking about healing the mother wound, which is probably going to get a little deep, but that's what we're here for. We're trying to deal and heal, So tell folks, tag them, share this, like it, comment, let them know, let folks know they need to be here tonight to have this exchange with us. So let me go ahead and introduce my guests. My first guest is Miss Shauntavia Clinton. She received her BS degree in psychology and her master's in educational psychology. And she is currently pursuing a PhD in ed leadership at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. She has a passion for helping others in any way she can. She has an extensive background in early childhood development and intervention, and she has knowledge and experience working as an advocate for victims of domestic and sexual violence. Her most recent career experience has been working as a mental health therapist, specializing in PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, trauma, ADHD, anxiety, and adjustment disorders. And then my second guest is Miss Jae Littles. She received her BA degree in sociology and communication with a gender studies minor from Florida Gulf Coast University and her master's degree in clinical social work from the Florida State University. She completed her internship at the Oasis Center for Women and Girls in this village. She incorporates self care, fun growth, and more in her work, and she is passionate about helping humans to thrive, gain confidence, earn coping skills, assist with life transitions, and handle family and relationship troubles. She also serves in the Leon County area and specializes in anxiety, depression, adjustment disorders, life transition, PTSD, trauma, intimate partner violence, racial trauma, and complex trauma. So, a whole host of skill sets here. So, help me welcome Shauntavia Clinton and Jae Littles.
Hi.
Yay!
Great.
Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Good to see y'all.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so tell the peoples. I already read what you do, but tell them who you are. So we're gonna start with you, Miss Shauntavia.
I'm Shauntavia, as Nicole said. I'm me. She read everything I do. I'm a people person, a kid person most of all. I love working with kids
Mhm.
and I love to travel. That's me. I'm an outgoing person. That's
Okay,
me. That's
good
it.
deal. Thank you for being here. And Miss J.
I am a student of life. I feel like I learn something new every day and I grow. I'm a big foodie. I'm a big foodie that like to sit on the couch and eat.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm just really excited to be here.
Nice. Well, we are excited to have you. So, I'm going to ask my guests, how many have, not, well, my guests, I'm going to ask you all in just a minute, but the viewers, how many of you have heard of the mother womb? The mother womb. I actually had this conversation with Shantavia a few months ago, I believe it's been,
Mhm.
and I had not really heard of that concept. I really was not familiar with it. And but when I looked it up, it was like, oh, this is like a thing. This is really like a thing. So yeah, I'm just curious. So Janae, who is also a social worker, she actually teaches over at FAMU. She said she hadn't. Lanisha says she hasn't. So listen, we're gonna get a lesson tonight. We're gonna learn tonight, right?
We don't try.
So tell us, what is the mother womb?
Yeah. So
Just go
the
ahead.
best way to really think of the mother womb is a loss or a lack of mothering. This is relationships that are passed down. So these are generational, and they really affect how we show up in the world, right? So it affects how our feelings. It affects how we connect with others, and it's how we experience parenting, how we witness parenting, or how we parent. And this has created a deficit in our life with primarily just the mothers. We don't really get into the daddy issues. We're strictly on the mother.
Okay, so when I think of it, I think of people just to hear that terminology. I think of when someone might say, "Oh, she has mommy issues," or "He has mommy
Right.
issues."
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So
Right.
yes, you agree, Shantavia?
Yep, and that can be from abandonment, neglect, or the mom not being there. She's there physically, but emotionally, she's not there to take care of those emotional needs. So, as a person, you don't know how to handle your emotions, how to build positive relationships with yourself. So, yeah, kind of what Jay said.
So while folks may not have heard of that terminology, how many have maybe experienced or witnessed, and I'm talking to the viewers, how many of you may have witnessed or experienced a mom that was emotionally unavailable or just, you know, couldn't really be there for their child or their children? I just want to kind of hear from the crowd. All right, Lynette said, I wonder why it's not called the parent womb. Interesting. Okay. So I did a couple of shows. Well, I did two shows on father hunger. Father
Mm-hmm.
hunger. And so I think this is kind of comparable to it. The need to have this relationship with that particular parent. So when Lynette says parent womb, I guess it's just a different in terminology. All right. So Lanisha said, yes, she has. She has. So when we think about moms not being present for their children, and maybe they want to, but just for whatever reason they can't, that has a big impact on a child's development, right? Okay. So let's talk about some of the impacts. Like what can be some of the direct impacts, if
Um,
there's
you mean from a child or as an adult or
either. Yeah, let's start with the child. Because
um
both of you
so-
have like experience working with youth, right?
right. Well, developmentally it's hard for them to open up to others. It may look like anger in the classroom. A teacher might point out, oh, she don't want to talk to anybody. She's shut down. That's because they don't know how to build those relationships with people. They don't trust people. So if I can't trust my own mom at home, how can I trust a stranger? And they do shut down. So they're emotionally unavailable. So
Okay.
and that starts at a small age. Like, when a mother have a child and they're, if they have so much going on in their life and they're angry, upset, or hurt, they can't provide that nurturing, nature to that child. So a child can feel that. So they grow up with that at an early age in the, developmentally.
Yeah.
Got it.
So in that first developmental stage, so that first 18 months, if they're not developing a sense of trust with their caregivers, especially with their mother, it really affects how they develop. It really affects how they view the world, right? So that's where you see a lot of acting out. That's where you see kids who don't want to go to daycare, who doesn't want to be separated, who's very dependent, but that mostly happens with the mother than what you see with the father.
Right,
Got
because the father is your first male introduction into the world, but your mother is your first relationship in the world, period. So
it. Mhm.
that's
So
that
that
first.
leads them to be fearful. That leads them to be confused. That leads them to be anxious. All in that first 18 months of life.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so we have a couple of comments. Miss Jones said children being placed in
Mhm.
foster care, they can have trust issues and afraid to love.
Absolutely. I work with a lot of foster kids. So I see it all the time where they'll see me and the first thing is, I don't trust you. I don't know you. I'm not talking to you. Who are you? So that is the first thing with foster kids. And it's already a sense of, my mom didn't want me, so why would a stranger want me? So it's an automatic feeling of neglect.
Hmm.
So that's
And
true.
abandonment, I'm sure, right?
Right. Definitely abandonment.
Hmm.
That just travels on, right? It starts at childhood, but then goes to adulthood.
Hmm.
Right.
So if you don't deal with that, as a child, in terms of moving from childhood to adolescence to adulthood, then you probably will have some abandonment issues,
Abandonment, all that. Yeah.
okay.
Um, don't know how to set boundaries,
Hmm.
um, codependent,
Hmm.
and it's hard to connect with other people, whether it's a personal relationship or friendship. It's hard to, make connections to other people. So it can
Right.
show up as a lot of those things. Fear, like Jay said, like you're fearful of trying new things or doing things. And yeah.
Okay. And so, what would your recommendation be for someone that has a mother wound in terms of trying to heal from that?
Well, the first step is understanding that it doesn't happen overnight. It's
Okay.
a process, it's a journey. So that's the first thing. Because sometimes people think that, oh, now I know I can heal this. It's not, it's painful and it's a journey.
Hmm.
So that's what I was thinking. Jay, if you want to elaborate more, I'll come back. But yeah,
Yeah, so a lot of time in sessions, like they just think we can go to one session, be like, all right, come on, let's talk about it.
I'm
Once
fixed.
two sessions, I'm done. All right. It's nice to see you, Jay. Nice to see you, Shantavia. But in
Right.
reality, when you're really dealing with complex trauma, that takes time. Like we get in it like first here's the trauma, then here's the boundaries, then it's so much. It's the anxiety, then it's the depression. So it really takes time to realize like again, this has been since childhood. Like this
Mhm.
lack and loss of parenting, this lack of mothering has been since I was a couple years old.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it takes all those years that if you do start, talk therapy or whether it be group therapy or whatever you choose to heal and to grow, that it's not, it's a process. Healing is a process.
Indeed, indeed,
And
indeed.
another important thing is not to look for your mom to heal this, because the damage has already been done. So it's nothing that you need your mom for. You can't reach out to her to heal this. Like, it's a self healing journey with yourself. Like, you got to talk to your inner child and
Mm.
pull those emotions out. You got to feel them and go through them. So it's you, and you just got to let go of what your mom did to you or how she hurt you, because how she parented you or how she raised you, she may have did all that she knew how to do because how she was raised. She may have had a mother that was not emotionally there. So that's how she know how to parent. So that's what she did. But you can break it.
Mhm.
So you just got to understand that you got to let it go with your mother and just see her as a person and not as your mother while you're on the healing journey. Because if you continue to see her as your mother, it's not gonna work.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think you should identify maybe a surrogate mother?
I do think it's important to connect, right? Whether that be with other women, whether that be with mentor or like peers your age who are women. Do you necessarily need a surrogate mother? No, right? Would it be nice to have? But that's not something you necessarily need and vital to your growth, right? Into your healing. It's really to make sure that you are healed inwardly. Because a lot of times, like Shantavia was saying, you don't need to have the conversation with your mother. But
Mhm.
forgiveness is inward first, right? So
Mm.
you can never talk to her again. But then that brings up the point is that with the mother wound, it doesn't always have to be physical. It doesn't always have to be they
Right.
abused me. A lot of times we see the mother wound with it happening mentally, emotionally. They were never there. They didn't come to my basketball games. They didn't come to my cheerleading games. They were off partying and living their life because they had me at a young age, and I was here to pick up the pieces and learn how to live my life from a young age. So now I
Right.
have a little bit resentment to mom, right?
Mhm.
And then you depend on other people for those emotions or those feelings. And when that person can't give it to you, it's a self sabotage. You don't know how to cope. So
Mm.
it's a crash and burn.
Whew. This is heavy. This is heavy. So I have a few mentees, and in some regards, I feel like I'm a surrogate mom to them in some ways, right? And not that they depend on me, at least from my vantage point. I mean, maybe they do, but from my vantage point, they don't depend on me a whole lot. I mean, we don't even communicate on any type of consistent basis. However, sometimes our conversations are lengthy, and sometimes they're willing to be more open and vulnerable about the things that are going on in their lives. Now, I do think that a lot of times, because they consider me to be a mentor, they kind of put their best foot forward, right? Because they don't want Miss Nicole to, you know, think that they out here just being ratchet and reckless. And but I know they are, so it's whatever. But I don't have no judgment, right? You got to live your life. You got to walk it out. Now, you want to talk to me about some things, and if you ask me my opinion, because I'm not gonna just necessarily offer, um, but I will chime in. But so again, I kind of think I act as a surrogate of sorts, because maybe they don't feel comfortable talking to their mother about it because of judgment, or they just don't understand or don't get it or what have you. But as you were saying, Jay, I think it is important for you to have some women that you can bounce things off of, talk to, that sort of thing. But as you stated, not set yourself up for failure from the standpoint if they don't fill that void, if you will.
Mhm.
Right. So
Mhm.
that's where the counseling comes in.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay. And so, what would you all suggest in terms of when it might be necessary for someone who's experienced a mother wound to go to counseling?
Honestly, you'll know.
When you notice it,
you you will know. I mean, 9 times out of 10, a person knows. Like it's hard to say when because everybody have a different moment or a time when it hits them. So it's
Hmm.
kind of hard to pinpoint because people have different tolerance levels for it. So what may bother me to an extent may not bother Jay. It's just when you feel like enough is enough, or when that's my take on it. I don't know how Jay feel about
Okay.
you know, growing up in the communities, when you hear a lot of, oh, I got the attitude from my mama. Oh, I do that
Right.
because of my mama. When
Mhm.
you having these conversations and you realize the things you got from your mama aren't really positive,
Right.
you probably need to talk to somebody. And again, I don't want to say like you can only go through like talk therapy, right? There's so many different type of therapies that you should try out. But
Mhm.
once you notice it's a problem, once you notice it's affecting other places of your life where you can't go to work correctly, you always popping off, where you can't have a stable relationship, then it's really time to look inward and see, did I get this from my mama? Like, is this a
Mhm.
mother wound? Like, this is something that needs to be fixed.
Right. And another one for the mothers that do have kids, you'll know when you notice how, because you can see your mother in yourself when you're parenting your kids. Like you might notice, this is what my mama was doing. I don't want to be this person. And
Mhm.
that's how you'll know when it's time. That's one of the biggest ones when you have kids and you see it manifest when you're raising kids.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna circle back, Jay. You said that there are a lot of different types of therapies. So just
Oh
kind
yeah.
of, briefly kind of talk about what those therapies are.
Yeah, so there's talk therapy, there's group therapy. Some people find like EMDR, that's a different type of therapy, but it's more intense to trauma. So mindfulness, so a lot of breath work, a lot of meditation can happen there. And then you have some people that, just going to the park and walking, that can be therapeutic for them. So you really
Journaling.
journaling, you really have to
Mhm.
see which type of therapy works for you. Because there's some people that love talk therapy, right? But for some people, it doesn't work. Or maybe you just didn't find the right therapist because everybody can't get a Shauntavia, right? So you need to
That's
figure
right.
out
They can't.
what works for you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a number of things, and some of those things I think we have also coined as self care.
Right.
Right.
That's what I was gonna say. A lot of self-care. I know a big one that it seems odd and it seems weird, but it does work. Sometimes you have to talk to your inner child. It sounds very weird. I think it's
Mhm.
weird, but it
So,
works.
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. I mean, I know I can remember hearing Oprah talking about, talking to your inner child. But, have you all, I guess, suggested that or utilized that with
Hmm.
dealing with some of your okay, so talk us through kind of what that is or what that experience might be like.
So it can be in the form of a letter to
Okay.
yourself, telling yourself all the things your mom never told you, telling
Mhm.
yourself you're proud of yourself, just things that you would have wanted to hear as a child that you never heard, like all the things that, I would have loved if someone said this to me or made me feel this way. And if you don't do the letter, sometimes you got to get in the mirror and have those conversations with yourself, and not just a one day thing. You need to do it, like make it a routine every morning. Say nice things to yourself, and going back to the letter, if you write the letter, you can put it under your pillow, read it to yourself every morning.
So these are like positive affirmations, sort of.
Well, innocence, or just, well, yeah, sort of. But what you want to say, what you want someone to say to you, or something as, I mean, if you want to write it to your mom, I forgive you for not being there for me. You can do it in that form.
So
Things you
not
want to say to
not
her.
I am statements, but you are, right?
Right.
Because it's as if you are
You're
talking
talking
to yourself.
to yourself
Right.
as
Hmm.
a child. Like, if Shantavia, you are beautiful. Shantavia, you're gonna do this. You're gonna be great. You are. Use your name. You got to speak to yourself.
Right. Okay.
And a lot of it is really like, if you can't talk to your mother, if you don't want to have that conversation with the mother, what would you say to her? Right? What would she say back to you? What do you need to hear in that moment? What will help you forgive? What will help you heal? Like, what will help you move on? So a lot of time that happens in therapy with writing letters to them, writing letters to yourself. It was pretty much coined after the whole reparenting and even shadow work of what exactly do I need in that moment that I can get just from myself. And it helps you really identify the triggers. It helps you to really identify what hurts you the most. Because when you're having a conversation with another person, you don't know what they're going to say. And that conversation can really just be real quick. So it's important to do it with yourself first.
Right. And then to piggyback off there, I have a thing where it's I don't know if I want to read all of them, but it's different ways to mother yourself, if you don't mind me sharing that.
No, not at all.
Nicole. So one of them, the first thing is to validate your feelings and emotions. You have to validate that first. And then pay attention to your needs and honor them.
Okay.
Give yourself permission to be imperfect, because that's the big thing with mothers. People, you trying to please your mother so much growing up that you turn into a people pleaser. So you always feel like you have to please people, and I'm not good enough, or worried about how people are going to view you. So you have to understand and let yourself feel that I'm not perfect.
Right.
Offer yourself support and care during pain.
Okay.
And notice all that you're already doing. Delight yourself in the small moments of joy that you have, and be tender with your own heart. Allow yourself to set and maintain boundaries. So that's just a few of them.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So let's like go back a little bit. Let's look at setting boundaries. What might that look like?
Jay, I'll let you talk about the boundaries, because that's how she likes talking about boundaries.
I love a boundary.
She do.
Oh, okay. I think you may have found the boundary chick.
The boundary queen. But
Okay, boundary queen.
So I like to say it's important to set boundaries, but it's also important to reinforce those boundaries, right? Because just because you set a boundary don't mean people aren't going to try you. Doesn't mean that they ain't going to be like, well, this is what I know. We've been doing this for years. You just want me to change like that? So when setting boundaries, first you need to figure out, what exactly do you want? What is good for you? What works for you? And we're not compromising. We're not thinking about the other person. So if it's, I want my whoever to stop calling me after 9 o'clock. What do I need to do? Okay, I'm telling them like, hey, I need you to stop calling me after 9 o'clock for A, B, C, and D reason. I'm going to let you pass one time, but I'm putting my phone to do not disturb, and I'll text you when I wake up, right? So once you wake up the next day, you see they called you after 9 o'clock. Hey, didn't we say we wasn't going to call each other at 9 o'clock? So that's where the reinforcing comes in. So it's really figuring out what exactly you want, what you need, telling the other person, right? Because when we have expectations that we're setting and we're not letting everybody in, that's not nice. We can't do that, right? Because then we're just setting ourselves up for self-sabotage. So it's really important to tell the other person you're setting this boundary with and be clear about our boundaries, and then reinforcing them.
Okay, so communicating the boundary and then reinforcing the boundary. Okay, good deal. What was one of the other ones? I didn't write them down, and you got them kind of fast. So
I'm sorry. Validate your feelings.
So what? Talk to me about that. Validating your feelings. Is
so
that
you got
acknowledgement of it, or
right?
Okay.
Validate them, like they're how I'm feeling. I'm not crazy. I know how I feel, and this is real, and I can heal from this. So you have to validate it, like it's real, like because sometimes you're like, no, I'm just tripping. My mama wasn't like that. It was just me. She had this going on. It wasn't her fault, and I shouldn't feel like that. But you're allowed to feel how you feel. So you have to validate that, because if you never validate it, how can you heal it?
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you find maybe that sometimes folks can fall into a victimization, I don't know, spiral in terms of always kind of feeling like the victim, as a result of having a mother wound, especially if they don't validate their feelings, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think it could be more so of a learned behavior, right?
okay.
If
Good
you've
mom.
had people in your lifetime denying your reality, like what was true and then it's a learned behavior of like, you don't even trust yourself. You don't even trust your feelings where they are valid. Your feelings are never an opinion. If you felt them, that means you thought them, and your brain is always going to be valid, right?
Mhm. And that could manifest as, like you said, a lack of trust, self-trust. I don't trust myself. And then if you had a mom that was always, oh, don't nobody do nothing for us. It's just me and my kids. And, it's just, you can start to feel like, oh, the world is out against me and everybody's against me. No one want to help me. No one want to do this. So, yeah.
Okay. Jay, you look like you wanted to say something.
So, at times when we don't let our mothers or even our fathers really heal their own wounds and do their own work, what can happen is they bring really toxic and traumatic things within our life, which hence the mother wound, right? But once we are aware of it, then it's up to us to take that power back. Then it's up to us to make that change. And that's really what reparenting is. But you have to be aware of it and you have to do the work. Because our parents unconsciously gaslight us until they learn what gaslighting is. And then they come back. Oh, baby, let's talk about it, right? But you have to be the person to talk about it. You have to be the person to break those curses. You have to be the curse breaker. And that's hard. That's hard to be the curse breaker as the child. Because we're so used to our mothers and our fathers being the person who did this for us that we don't know how to do that. And that's why it's important to connect. That's why it's important to get help. That's why it's important to do something therapeutic or even go to therapy.
No, good point. Because the parents are typically the authority and there's a certain level of respect and there's an order and you don't want to come off as disrespectful or what have you. And, they might not be even trying to hear any of that in terms of, let's go to counseling. So let me ask you this. Would you, if there were parents that maybe their child, and the child could be an adult child, told them that, they had some issue, would you suggest that the child maybe try to get the parents to come to group therapy?
It
Or
don't hurt.
family therapy, like the family go to therapy together?
That it don't hurt, but sometimes it's just best to leave it separate because sometimes that can do more damage. I've seen it like when you have them together and the mom might feel like, oh, you're attacking me because you can't say anything without the mom feeling offended. Oh, you're trying to attack me in front of the therapist or put our business out. And you know how sometimes the Black mother can be with our business in the house and you say the wrong thing in therapy, it's you're at war.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's important to have a conversation before. Like everybody's ready and we're gonna be totally honest, everything gonna be laid out on the table, or
on the
what are
same
we not
page.
saying?
We're all
Okay,
on the
let's
same
be on the
page.
same page of what we're going to talk about into therapy about. Because therapy's gonna get on you.
It is.
They're gonna find it.
Yeah, I just think, and this is as a result of, especially doing these broadcasts. I think it was Dr. Ken Fowler who said it best. Therapy is for folks that need new solutions to old problems. Clearly you got these problems that you can't solve, and that's why I'm here as a therapist to help you solve them, come up with some solutions. And so I think that needs to be the mindset as folks go into, these sessions, whether it's individual or group, and because there should be, as a professional, a neutral third party, and be trying to get to the root of what's going on so that you could be better, right? So it needs to not, again, this is part of why we having these conversations, right? I want people to, not have the mindset that the the therapist is on one person's side or another. I mean,
Right.
they may, yes, maybe what one person is saying is in order or correct or whatever, but
But a
and that
therapist,
might be a tough pill to swallow for
yeah.
the person who doesn't get it their way. But you gotta have those discussions. You gotta have those discussions.
Yeah. And I will say in the Black community, a big problem is our, older, don't y'all shoot me after this.
Go ahead.
But
Safe space.
a lot of the Black parents, they like to sweep it under the rug that there's no problems, that it's just fine. Oh, you don't went to talking to a therapist and think you know everything, and like they're oblivious to the problem. Well, they're not oblivious, they know it's there, but they kind of just like don't want to see it, or don't want to accept that it's a problem. It's always swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's a big thing with the older generation. So I think that's why a lot of younger people are with my age, um, they don't want to talk about it because they already know how our parents or our grandparents feel about it. So it's about breaking the generational curse with that. Like it's time. So
Okay.
that's a big.
So I think maybe, it might be a challenge to look back in terms of trying to get the older folks to participate, but I think it's worth at least presenting it. And if they say no, they say no. But I also am of the mindset that you got to have a certain level of self awareness, right, in order to seek this type of help. And
Mm-hmm.
so, in that you don't feel like you are perfect or have arrived or, can't be out of order or in error as it relates to some things, and that you can learn something new, that you can change your behaviors so that you can be better, right? And then, if you're looking at having children, you want them to be, you know, better or good too, right? And so you don't want to pass on, like we talking about this generational trauma, generational curses. You don't want to pass that on. So again, get your checkup from the neck up is what I call it, and talk with somebody. Let's peel back the layers of that onion and really find out what's going on and utilize some techniques, as you talked about already, that
Mm-hmm.
you that will help you grow and learn and heal, right? So you also mentioned what was one of the other things that you mentioned on your list? So we talked about validating
Let me
feelings,
go back to it.
boundaries.
Let me go back to it. Hold on. I got a lot of papers and stuff
That was
right
a
here.
that was a good list. That was a good list. So things that we
Okay.
need to,
10
again.
ways to mother your or reparent yourself.
So
Um,
yeah, so yeah, let's stop right there. I have not heard that term reparent. So it's almost like a when I hear that, like a deprogramming and a reprogramming, right? Because
mhm.
maybe what you experienced was not very loving or caring or nurturing.
Yes, sir.
And so the reparenting is giving you those things that you needed. Oftentimes when I see the news and you see some young black person on the news that has committed some crime or what have you, I see children. I see little boys and girls, even though these are adults. And I think to myself, what they needed something as a child that they didn't get.
Right.
So, we got to meet the needs of our children, and not from a spoiling standpoint, but, discipline, um, again, being decent and in order, respect, being honorable, all of these things, right? Uh, just look, some of just the basic needs are being met. So,
Right.
yeah. So have you all experienced that as well with some of the youth that you run across? That some
Yeah,
of their
a lot.
needs have not been met by their parents?
Oh yeah, a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so how
Mhm.
do you help them work through that? As children, how do you help children work through that?
Um, It's for me, my approach is I honestly go with this may sound weird, but I go with the child. I kind of follow the lead of the child. So it's specifically it's different for every child. One child you may do it through playing and like let's just say we're doing play with dolls and stuff and like having a
Okay.
mommy and child conversation how it's supposed to go the
Okay.
right way or something like that. It can be through a simple conversation coloring with the child. So to me, it just depends on the child and that situation and
Mhm.
when I can tell they're ready.
Okay.
So I can't specifically say
Oh, you given some good examples already in terms of coloring and maybe that conversation come up or playing.
to do games with them and like
Mhm.
so it happened in some odd ways sometimes. Like I'll go in there, just sit on the floor, play a game with them, and before you know it, we're down a whole, you
Mhm.
know,
You've had that conversation.
right.
Right. So possibly through role play maybe as well if you have
That's
some
what I was trying to
dolls.
say. Role play, yeah.
Right. You have dolls and you're playing and what the conversation should be as, the child and the parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I think about you say like a Mr. Rogers Neighborhood, and I know I'm really dating myself with that one, but
Because I'm
hell,
scratching my head like, who?
right. Mr. Rogers. You never heard of Mr. Rogers?
Sounds
Okay.
familiar.
And he probably don't play them no more, but go to YouTube. Go to YouTube. You'll find him on there. But he really dealt with emotions and feelings for children and how to manage those, you know? And so, I think as children that's something that we need um to hone in on. But if you don't if your parents aren't really helping you out with that, then it becomes difficult and it just carries on through adulthood. So
Mm-hmm.
Janae said the white man. Yes, the white man I was talking about, the white man. We didn't have really much when I was growing up in my generation as it relates to black
Right.
black children's shows. So there you go.
Yeah. And to touch on that, I know a lot of the kids that I've worked with. Sometimes you can have a parent like you can pass on a mother wound unintentionally, but if you're a busy parent, like working two or three jobs, you might not know that you're doing this to your child. So even some of the people that's listening, if you're working multiple jobs or in school, just try to take the time to spend time with the child to let them know that you're there because you can be doing so much and they'll go find that attention somewhere else. They will, and then that'll start a whole
So that is a very good point. So it may not even be that they are emotionally unavailable, but they're physically not there because they're trying to provide for the child or the child and their siblings or what have you. So they're working several jobs or going to school and working or what have you. So that is, yeah, that's a great point. But you gotta, do what you can um to make sure that they know that you're present and you care and that you are emotionally available. And then I think that's where also a village concept may come in. So a real good friend of mine, she has a number of children, but she has chosen sisters. Like they're not her birth sisters, but she has chosen sisters, and they have husbands, and they have children, but they are a village of sorts. So even if she's absent because she has things to do in the community, her sisters will step in and care for her children. You know what I'm saying? So I think we need to maybe explore some other options, or some other ways to parent our children where they don't feel abandoned or they're not left to themselves to try to parent themselves as children because they don't know, as a child, you don't know about what it means to be a parent.
right.
All right. Ms. Jones said, ladies, please share the video. We need to get the information to our parents. Tag a group. Okay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're talking about this video or another one. But if it's this one, we can do that after it's after the broadcast. Lanisha said, but what do you do when you spend that time and the children feel like it's not enough?
um if the child voiced it, you can have a conversation with them to let them know, depending on the age, because an older child may understand, but a younger child, you can just have to have those conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if this is like a teen or like a young adult, definitely just having a conversation. But when dealing with the mother room for, let's say, a teen, it's important to like set values with them. Like, what's their values? What's their purpose? And then so it's easier to get them in different resources that align with their values, that align with,
Mm-hmm.
what they want to do in the future. So all that loving isn't coming strictly for you. So you can work your job and you can go to school, but they also going to be at cheerleading. They're going to be at football. They're going to be at art camp. They're going to be at band camp. That really aligns with what they want to do, so they don't feel like it's a lack there.
Thank you,
Good
Jill.
point. So when do you think you should kind of tap into that? Is that something that you think? So would that be something for like the middle school age children? Like maybe your
Yeah,
six,
some elementary, because some of them understand. It
okay.
it depends on, because a parent knows their child. You know the maturity level of the child, so it depends on that. So I wouldn't
Mm.
put an age on it or a grade level, because you may have a 6-year
Right.
old that understands it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So I mostly started working in middle school. So I found a lot of times that was where we would, what's our values, what's our morals, what's our
right,
purpose. So it sets them up for high school. So when we get to high school, we know what we want to do. So I think definitely in that time, like 6th, 7th grade, like
hmm
so baby, what you want to do?
Okay. And sometimes they don't know that. So I think also maybe exploring
oh,
some
that's a good
options,
one. Yeah.
giving them some exposure to some different experiences so that they can kind of flush that out, right?
Right, and like Janae said, you could ask them ways how they want to spend time, like make them feel like they have a say so in it, because that make them feel important. Like, oh, she want to know what I want to do. I matter, so that can build that self confidence, or So
Mm.
that was a real good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. That is a good one. So ask your child how they want to spend time with you,
Or
but
what they want to do.
what do they want to do? And I would also ask or mention parents be open to trying some new things, right? Because children are very inquisitive and exploratory oftentimes. So, you know, be willing to maybe go to Sky Zone or, you know,
And get out there with them and do it, because it's
zip
one thing to sit
line or,
there and
yeah,
watch them.
right. Be willing to try some new
Include
things.
yourself.
Yes. All right. Lanisha said, what about an adult child that just doesn't understand? Is this where the self healing comes in?
Yes,
Those are
Okay.
the ones that need to start going to therapy.
therapy.
Okay. So therapy would be highly recommended, right?
And at that
Okay.
age, if it's a
Because,
young adult,
as a
go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just saying, as a young adult, you can do that family therapy with, if you're trying to get them to understand, or one-on-one.
okay. Um, Mr. Emmanuel, he said he almost got it.
This
All
Sky
right.
Zone is no joke. That's
But
a
did you die?
sweating.
But did you die?
No,
You're
he
still
didn't
here.
because
You
he
you're
wants.
here talking to us. So
He's right. He's
be
commented
good.
about it, so he
He lost
lives.
a lot of weight
You
from one
here.
hour
You
on
still
Sky
here.
Zone.
Get back out there and do it again.
Right. All right. So again, as an adult child, like you said, that would be if they just don't get it in, they just still want to have this time. That's where the self healing comes in, and so counseling would be something that they should explore.
Yeah, because you don't want that to turn into resentment and bitterness. So, because that's what that can quickly turn into.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal. Yeah, they laughing. They laughing at Emmanuel. Okay, so this is good. This is good. So any final things that you all want to say about the healing the mother wound? I mean, you gave us some therapies that we can implore. So talk group. What was that? I know I've heard it before.
EMDR.
EMDR, yes, EMDR, mindfulness, which is the breathing and meditation, journaling, um,
Write the letter to your inner child. I
right?
said the inner child, but another one would be to write a letter to your future self.
Okay, all
You can
right,
write a letter to your future self. I'm reading my notes. Write a letter to your future self that includes all the things you're proud of yourself for overcoming and just what you're proud of with yourself.
okay. Art therapy, I think Lanisha may have mentioned, and
Mhm,
connecting with nature. I heard that.
mhm.
Also, outside of the letter, also looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, your inner child, affirming your inner child. But also, I heard recognizing that it's a process. So this is not going to happen overnight, not going to
Right.
happen instantaneously. It is work. It is work. It is work. And you
Mhm.
need to be seeking healing for yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Not
Right.
outside of yourself, not depending on somebody else to do the healing for you,
Yeah.
and not even necessarily expecting an apology or anything like that from them. It's something
Not
that
for your mama. It's for you.
It's for you.
is
It's
for
for you.
you.
The healing, yes. And it's some books too that I can
Okay.
suggest to help with
Okay.
this. If you want me to say them now or
Yeah, go ahead.
okay, so one of them is and you can find all these on Amazon.
Okay.
So one of them is the actual workbook. It's called the Inner Child Workbook. So it'll help you if you can't prompt yourself to write a letter to yourself. So
Okay.
it's the Inner Child Workbook, and it's by y'all know I can't see. Catherine Taylor, Catherine with the C.
Okay.
So that's the inner child. It's let me show y'all. This is what it looks like. I don't know if y'all can see
Okay.
that.
Okay, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one book. Bell Hooks, the late Bell Hooks.
Uh-huh.
Um, she has a book called Communion: The Female Search for Love.
Hmm. Okay.
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
And it's another one. It's called In Search of Our Mother's Garden, and that's by Alice Walker.
Okay. Alice Walker, that's Color Purple.
Mhm. This is
Okay. The author of Color Purple, rather. In
right.
Search of Our Mother's Garden. All right, got it.
And one more by Bell Hooks, another one.
Okay.
It's all about love.
It's all about love.
New
Okay.
visions. That's what it. Yeah, that's what it says
Okay.
on that one.
Okay. Good deal. Now, have you read all these books?
Two of them.
Okay. All
Only
right.
two of them. I didn't read the other three,
All
but
right.
I'm getting them.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Any resources out there that you all are aware of? Outside of the books, I don't want to discount that, but any sister groups or anything like that that you're aware of?
So
um,
some podcasts.
podcast. Yeah,
Podcast. Okay. Okay.
it's
Cool.
So
the Black
Black
Girls
Girl.
Hill podcast.
Okay. Black Girls
Black Girls
Heal.
Hill. Black
Get
Girls
on.
Black.
Hill podcast.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
definitely, and it's on. We say
So
look
Lanisha just
to
put up
Lanisha.
everything. She typed it all in. Thank you
That's
for
what I'm
running
talking about,
us.
Lanisha.
You the bomb, girl. You the bomb. Yes. All right. So
So
podcast.
Black Girls Hill.
Okay.
And the
That's what.
Balanced Black Girl is really good too.
Yeah, Balanced Black Girl. I forgot about that one. It's another one. Let me go to my little
Look,
list.
is there anything for the men folk?
We going with the mother wound. It's for everybody. Bell Hooks is for everybody. If you
Bell
have
hooks
one,
for
it's all
Yeah.
everybody.
about love.
Okay.
First chapter will get you.
Another podcast is called Therapy for Black Girls.
Okay.
Sorry, men. I'm gonna get y'all something. But I
Yeah.
will say the Black Girls Heal podcast, she does a lot of segment for men.
Okay.
So make sure the men need to definitely listen to the Black Girls Heal podcast.
Okay.
Y'all can hide it from y'all if y'all around y'all homeboys. Y'all can hide it, but Black Girls Heals is a good one.
Okay. Yeah, we had a couple of brothers on here tonight that were, but ones that were willing to comment. So Ozzy, who was a regular, and oh, May was on here too for a minute, and then
Man,
Shula.
that's family. That's family right there.
Yeah, he gave you a shout out earlier. You probably missed it, but
Did.
it's all
Okay,
good.
see it.
And then Emmanuel.
Mr. Sky Zone that almost took him out.
Yes, see, man, you done got yourself a new nickname. You Mr. Sky Zone now.
Mrs.
All right.
Home.
Yes. All right. Well, good. So, books, podcasts, therapies that we talked about. Some of the other exercises are writing a letter, looking in the mirror, and affirming yourself. And just being patient with yourself too. All right. So Lanisha says she missed the podcast. So Lanisha, the podcasts were Black Girls Heal and Therapy for Black Girls. And she said Black Girls Heal is also for the brothers as well.
And they said balanced Black girl.
Balanced Black Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'll put that down here as well. All right. Good deal. All right. Well, this has been wonderful. And while I know you both are clinicians in the sense of seeing clients, are you open to folks reaching out to you with any questions or concerns as it relates to? I see. All right, Jay might be.
Let me set that boundary.
Okay, that's
No, I'm
fine.
just playing.
This
Yeah, it's fine. I'm okay with it. I'm
is
okay with it.
FAMU's newest victim advocate.
Oh, look, she got a family.
It ain't set up yet, but I just moved in.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
you can come visit her
Y'all
until
can. I'm bored in the office, so come on. Let me not say that too loud.
Okay, but it's only for FAMU students, ain't it? Yeah, so
We're live right now, so
we are. All right. Well, Janae's giving you a whoop whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Well, congratulations. So,
Thank
look,
you.
any rattlers that are enrolled, you can benefit from Miss Clinton's advocacy.
Victim advocacy.
Yes, 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 yes. All right. Well, that's fine. Well, go ahead, Jay. What you want to say?
no, I'm just giving you a laugh.
Okay. So I want to thank you both for being on here tonight. I think this was a much needed conversation. It's difficult, especially when you talk about people's mamas, right?
Right.
Right. Like
The
don't
black
talk about my
mama.
mama. Those are fighting words. Even though my mama, then she did me wrong, she did me dirty, but still, you can't talk about her. Only I can.
Right.
But sometimes you got to get healing. So again, encouraging folks to get therapy. Connect with somebody that can help you work through these issues. Because again, we are seeking new solutions to old problems.
That's right.
Okay. All right. And I want to thank the viewers. You all were great. Thank you for your interaction. We really, really, really appreciate that. It's that that engagement is what this is all about.
Shout out to Mrs. Benson.
Yes.
Mrs.
Bougie boo.
Benson. Madam Dean.
My mom just chimed in.
Hey, Mama.
Hey, Mama's down.
Hey.
Yes. And here she is, Miss Bougie Boo herself.
Did you see her? The one and only.
Thank you. Thank you. Seriously.
Thank you, Lanisha and Janae and
Yes.
Miss Jones.
Yes. They were really, really good at commenting tonight. So y'all kept us on track.
And Mr. Dazone.
Yes, Mr. Sky Zone E. All right, so I want to invite you all, those of you who are on, maybe this is your first time, to subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel. Also add Greater Works Network to your Roku TV as a channel option. So if you have a Roku TV player or stick, You add us as an option. When you turn your television on, you'll see that big red GWN on, and you can just click on it and we're right there. So we're on live on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. And then tag somebody who you think will benefit from this conversation, that you think would, you know, that has, oh my goodness. All right, we about to get off. That is that needs this. So again, we appreciate you, and we'll be on next week. We have two great guests lined up next week: Ozzy Daniels and a brother out of Baltimore. That's going to be talking about suicide next Wednesday. So y'all be safe, take care, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.